Welcome, dear kind hearts. You are probably here because you are someone that is walking the path of soul remembrance, divine embodiment, living from your truth, and you feel that there is this wave and this motion with this collective, and we're gathering right now to build this momentum and create a collective field of this remembrance. And it is happening, and it has happened, and I'm really pleased to be on this path with you. And right now I want to talk about something where I believe that right now we are all here to remember this, to remember our way, and to bust through those belief systems that maybe make us feel like we need a certain system in place, we need certain conditions for us to live how we want to live, right? And so I want to remind you, and I think that you're already remembering, that's why you're here, that you do not need to have an excuse to change the things that you want to change in your life. You do not need for things to be going wrong to make a change with something or anything in your life. Like, you are here because you are the evolving soul. You are the one who is propelling yourself towards your destiny, because your soul is the guiding force. And because you're walking that path, you will feel like things need to just burn away and dissolve and alchemize so that you can keep refining your life. And oftentimes, I think this has been something I've picked up on my own life, and I'm sharing this because I think maybe there's other people who think the same thing or have gone through the same thing, where you sometimes think that you need to kind of have something really drastically wrong to make a change, because so many people actually put up with so much. They put up with so much. Like, I'm talking like, in the workspace, with family dynamics, with how they treat themselves, how other people are treating them, it's like putting up with things that they just shouldn't be putting up with. But we've all become so, I don't want to even use the word resilient to it, but it's like numb. It's numb. It's numb to how excruciatingly soul destroying and dampening some of these things can be. And that can even be as little as just not being paid enough money, right? How much are you going to put up with that in your workplace? Because maybe everyone gets on, because it's easy to get to work in that place. Maybe you've got like certain things about that place that you work that, you get away with certain things. It's a little bit lax, but you're not being paid properly. That's stopping you evolving, because you're not able to really fully be met with that energy exchange. And that's so important. The same with certain people. So this can look like someone just talks to you a certain way. They have a little lens on their eyes that makes them think that you don't have capabilities, that, you're a bit clumsy, a bit procrastination, and they just kind of poke at that. Every time they see you, they'll just poke and poke and poke. And because, you've known them your whole life, or a lot of your life, you just kind of go, okay, they just say those things, but like most parts we get on. Again, it's like we need to create those boundaries. We need to be able to go to that job and say, this is how much I'm worth. And either you step up and give me that, or I'm going to go and find another place. And take that risk and trust that on the other side of that risk is growth. Whether that is you go to another place and it still doesn't feel aligned, you can go and still keep going to another place. Like, there are no limits. Again, these are conditionings. You hear, I remember you used to hear that, you need to be in like a job for at least a year before you move into another one, because, the credibility. If you're good, people will hire you, Friends. I remember being, possibly 15, and some friends that I was in a group with were getting kind of mean and nasty, and we weren't getting on because certain people wanted to do certain things and not including the whole group, and it all got a little bit difficult, to say the least. So I cut ties. And some of the things that they said to me were, you're never gonna have any friends if you leave us, and all these things. I'm about 15, right? But it hurt, and it was like, wow, like it's crazy to think that people think that you won't make friends just because you're cutting ties with them. But I was making a boundary. I realized those people were being manipulative and unfair, and I didn't want to play in that game. I wanted to be able to be us all getting on, all going and doing something we can all do together. It's like, that was our dynamic. Obviously it's a lot more complex than that, but you see what I mean? Sometimes we have to make these sacrifices, because I made a sacrifice back then of being alone for a while, and I've done that again and again. I've let go of really long-term relationships, and then found myself, in a gap of not even having friends around me, because that partnership was also all of the friends that came with that partnership, and then you start a new life. And that's something that I've learned very well to do, is start new lives. If people are not fitting in to my belief systems, and there are certain ways we can be compassionate and hold space for people, but there are certain parts of us where we need to grow. And if certain things in our lives are not allowing us to grow, we need to also be able to let them go. And we don't need to have such a big excuse. Someone doesn't need to be abusive for that relationship not to work. It might just be that it's just not aligning. You don't have the same values. That's okay. That's enough for you to make a change. A friend. That friend could just be saying sarky things, being a little bit passive aggressive. Yeah, they're not being totally malicious and completely railroading you every single moment. But does it feel healthy to be in that relationship? Can you work with them and see if that they can shift that? And if they can't, maybe it is time to leave. If they're willing to do the work, maybe you can, stick around. Maybe it'll be okay. Maybe they'll start to grow along the way. It's up to you. It's always up to you. It's always down to you, and how you want your space around you and how that's going to affect you. That's going to be down to you. You're cultivating that life that you want to live, should I say. So, in essence, if there is something that you are holding on to right now, it's time to let go. If you know that you've done the work on it, you've sat with it, the math ain't mathing anymore, for you to stick around, for it to be in your life, for that thing to keep playing out the way it's been playing out, it's time to make that change. And be brave. This is a brave step. It takes bravery to make that transition, because yes, sometimes things will come along with that, like the loneliness, the emptiness. Maybe a new job might mean having to make new friends and trying to find your way around a new place if it's a big business. I don't know. It could be that, even when you're with friends and family who are in the same dynamic as someone you can't necessarily get rid of, like, how can you make that shift so that change can best suit your evolution? How can you communicate that? Because communication is one of the biggest steps in all of this. In order to make the change, we need to communicate that. We need to communicate that to ourselves and be honest. We need to communicate that with the people around us in a healthy way. We don't need to let it get to the point where we're like lashing out and losing it with people because we couldn't communicate how we felt at the time. We want to be able to sit down and be really honest and lay it all out. And that might require you writing a load of letters, putting on a video and making some voice notes to yourself to kind of prepare yourself for that. If this is a big transition for you, You don't need to rush this. Now that you've seen this video, you don't need to, make any big, bold moves, but just make those steps, those healthy steps. Like I said, writing things down, communicating with yourself, communicating with the others around you, be it people that you feel safe to communicate this honesty with, and then getting yourself prepared to communicate with those that maybe are influencing the change, the transformation, so that you can make that transition as best and as easy as possible, and to be fair with everyone else involved as well. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what transformations happen for you, because when you make this transformation, this happens for the collective. This is such a big one. And I have one tool that is really good for you for that, and it's called Voice of the Heart. This journey you can download below, and it is so helpful in speaking to the heart, because the heart is the one that tends to have the deep wisdom and the knowledge on what we really truly want and desire in our lives. It is the seat of the soul. So do take that guidance and see if that practice just helps you along the way on this path. Otherwise, I'd love to hear in the comments, what is it that you want to change and transform right now?